members of the public on at this point.
Go ahead and start it now.
They'll just be joining now, John, however many there are.
Okay.
And for those members of the community that are joining us, we're just going to give it one more minute to allow folks to come in, and then we will get started. Just a couple seconds. All right, well, let's jump in. So good evening. My name is Michelle Bigelow. I'm the City Clerk and Interim Communications Director. And tonight, the focus of our town hall is really about water conservation. As we all know, California has been experiencing a drought, and imported water deliveries to Santa Clara County have been reduced. As a result, Valley Water has asked the city to reduce its water use. And in response to that, on June 16th, the City Council adopted an ordinance declaring a level 2 water supply shortage. And so on that note, we have John Varela, who is a Valley Water Board member, Tony Yulo, who is our program administrator, and Justin Burks with Valley Water here to share information. And with that, I will turn it over to John Varela.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. As a representative of Morgan Hill on the Valley Water Board of Directors, I appreciate this opportunity to be here and to spend a few minutes talking about our water conservation programs. During the time of severe drought, we all need to pull together to keep our county moving forward. This is the driest season since 1977. Locally, Santa Clara County rainfall is about 41% of average, and total reservoir storage is 25% compared to the 20-year average. Our water supplies are in jeopardy. Valley Water is going to do everything we can to ensure we can provide safe, clean water to Santa Clara County. On June 9th, my fellow board members and I unanimously declared a water shortage emergency condition in the entire Santa Clara County. This declaration, which is among the strongest actions we can take under the law, allows Valley Water to work with our retailers, cities, and the county to implement regulations and restrictions on the delivery and consumption of water. This past Tuesday, the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors ratified the proclamation of a local emergency issued by the County Director of Emergency Services. This action underscores the seriousness of the threats posed by this extreme drought. Today, we are here to ask you to do your part. Droughts are not new to this valley, and I thank the many people, specifically in Morgan Hill, who acted during the last drought to reduce their water use significantly. I urge this community to keep up the good work. You've done a fabulous job in the past. We want to help you conserve water as well. Valley Water actively promotes our many water conservation programs that can help people and businesses save water and money, including our WaterWise survey, landscape rebates, and other programs. So here to tell you more about these programs to help us get through this drought is Valley Water's Justin Burks, a senior water conservation specialist. So Tony, I'll turn it back to you. Or Justin.
Thank you, Director Varela. It's good to see you, by the way.
Good to be seen. Thank you. Good to be with you.
Can everyone see my screen, or do you see 2021 drought response?
Tony, you're muted.
Michelle, do you see my correct screen, the presentation?
I do, yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks much. We'll be going over the city's action and engagement that we're doing in the drought response this year, and then we'll turn it over to Justin to hear about how Valley Water can help. Okay. Let me make sure my button is working here. There we go. To outline my presentation, we're going to give everyone kind of a background on the city's water system and sources, look at the statewide water perspective. We'll quickly go over Valley Water's perspective. Director Varela just covered that. We'll talk about the city's response plan and what we're doing to communicate what we're doing to our public. So for those of you who don't know, the city gets 100% of its water delivered from groundwater. So we don't get water from a lake or a river directly into a treatment plant that goes into pipes. It's all pumped out of the ground. That groundwater comes from both natural recharge, that is rainwater that infiltrates into the ground, as well as imported water. So the imported water comes through the Delta, through the San Luis Reservoir in a pipeline, and then gets spread onto the ground in Morgan Hill. So when you're driving up 101 and you see that looks like a river next to the highway 101 on the east side, that is actually water that came from the Delta. It could have come from as far away as Shasta Lake or the Southern Sierras. That water found its way to San Luis Reservoir and is pumped over here to provide us with water. In round numbers, about half of the water we use that gets pumped out of the ground originally was in the Delta, and about half comes from natural recharge. When we talk about that Delta water, and I know that you can't see the detail here, the point of this slide is to show you that the Valley water, when they get their water, it comes from all over, and there's all kinds of different pumps and reservoirs and what have you that bring that water to us. In this slide, you can see a close-up of the water import system, and you can see how our county gets water both from, it comes in from the north where you see that C and that orange pipeline and the represents the South Bay Aqueduct to the north. And then in southern Santa Clara County, where we are, you'll see that where it says 6 and E and F, those are the facilities that bring the water into southern Santa Clara County. The groundwater itself it's kind of interesting. It comes in from both, as I said, natural recharge and imported recharge. Then it goes into recharge basins. It infiltrates in, and the water fills the gaps between the pebbles of sand and rock deep below the ground. And then different people have different ways of draining it. So you see here an agricultural supply well where water is coming up. Over here, you have a municipal industrial supply well. So the city's wells would be represented like this and an agricultural well like this. It's good to know that in the southern part of Santa Clara County, over half of the water that's taken out of the groundwater is taken out by farmers. In other words, the agricultural interests take up more water than the cities of Gilroy and Morgan Hill combined. Now, if we focus on the city's water use, in this chart, you can see monthly use over the last 5 years. And you can see that it's fairly consistent from year to year. In other words, July is always more than February from year to year. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the average monthly water use. So you can see that in January and February, it's in the 300 acre feet. But when we get to July, it's almost 900 acre feet. So there's almost 3 times more water pulled out of the ground and delivered by the Morgan Hill utility in July than there is in January. This is, of course, because of irrigation and the need for us to put water on our plants and lawns, et cetera, to keep them alive. So when we focus on things that are relatively easy for us to do and relatively pain-free in reducing our own water use, it's important to think about this peak here and what we can do to kind of address that as opposed to focusing on what we do in January and February. A lot of people ask us about growth. And if we think this chart's for Morgan Hill, it's good to know that in Santa Clara County, the entire county uses about as much water now as it did in 1990. So if you think about all the growth that's happened over the last 30 years, all those new people that have come, all the new businesses, it's about the same amount of water is being used, which is quite incredible. And what that speaks to is that growth does not necessarily equate to increased water demand. On this chart, you can see our own water use and population for the last 20 years. The red bar being population, the red line, pardon me, being population, the blue bars being our water production from year to year. You can see that while the population has gone up during this time, somewhat, we look at from 33,000 up to 45,000, the water use has not gone up. And it's important to recognize But this doesn't even capture those instances where there is now development over where there was a farm. That the farm's usage of water in the past is not even captured by this chart. That's an additional savings. You can see that starting in 2015 in the last drought, our customers did an awesome job of reducing their water consumption during that drought. You can see that even in 2019, literally, these years here, 2017, 18, 19, were lower than every year between 2000 and 2014. It's quite dramatic. And this is because our water use daily per person has declined significantly. You can see it's roughly averaged in around 200 over all these years. And now we're down at 150. That's a 25% reduction in the water used daily per person. And even at that, we're still using 150 gallons per person per day, which most people have a hard time reconciling with their own thoughts about their own water use. But that's the average, is 150 gallons per person per day in Morgan Hill. When we look at the statewide water perspective, as Director Varela mentioned, second consecutive very dry year. The governor has now declared drought for much of the state. Agricultural allocations are 0% from the federal Central Valley project here. The imported water allocations to cities have been drastically cut back. And the winter rains this year were really just the drop in an empty bucket. They were amounted to almost nothing. There was a nice article on the cover of today's Merc. I say nice in that it was a well-written article talking about how the snowpack just disappeared. And while there was snowpack there in April, it evaporated and infiltrated as opposed to flowing to rivers, which has caused quite a problem. Regionally, Valley Water started 2021 in great condition. They had about 300,000 acre feet in local groundwater storage in the ground and actually projected to still end the year with about that much. They noted the dry winter and increased their conservation requests from 20 to 25% in the spring. But then in late May, they got some rather rude news from the federal government saying that the imported water allocation was going to be reduced significantly. And so they responded as soon as they could, which was to say, as Director Vela mentioned, on June 9th, they passed an emergency resolution that effectively asks agencies like the city of Morgan Hill to reduce its water use by 33% when we compare that to 2013. So the city is prepared for this type of event. We have an ordinance that is directly relates to this and details our response to water shortages. It also establishes permanent water waste rules. It establishes exactly what we'll do when water shortages are noted and called for. And it's part of our urban water management plan that has been submitted and approved by the state. That's an every 5-year plan that we have to turn in. And one of the important parts about it is, what are you going to do during a drought? And so ours is all codified in our municipal code. I mentioned that we have permanent water waste rules, and that includes limits on the watering hours, days, and duration. So even during normal times, water use in Morgan Hill in irrigation is limited to 3 days a week. You're never allowed to have runoff. You're never allowed to wash down hard or paved surfaces. And there's all, I won't read them all because they go on even to another slide, but there's a number of permanent water waste rules that we have in place. At this point, we have a level 2 water supply shortage. We recommended the council adopt a resolution on this issue last week, and as Michelle indicated, they did. And during a level 2 water supply shortage, there's some important differences. One is to note that all level 1 rules and permanent water rules remain in place. Most importantly, the watering days are now limited to 2 days a week for the months of April through October, and 1 day a week from November to March. Just so you know, that 1 day a week schedule for November to March is in place every year. That's our standard. 2 days a week from April to October is the difference here. We believe strongly that 2 days a week is enough to keep your landscape alive. It's not enough to keep a lawn green, but it will keep a lawn from dying. And that is our goal during a drought, is to keep landscapes from dying. If you do have a break or malfunction, the municipal code says you have 48 hours after you've been notified to fix the leak. We do have a leak alert system through our Water Smart system that notifies people automatically. And all vehicle washing is prohibited except at commercial facilities that recycle their water. People have said, well, even during a drought like this, can't you limit growth? Well, our municipal code indicates that building permits may be withheld when reductions above 40% are called for. However, California passed a law in 2019, SB 330, that eliminated growth control in Morgan Hill. And it said that any new moratoriums, even due to drought, are subject to review by the Housing and Community Development Department. So any residential moratorium would have to be approved by HCD. And we've been told that their approval is highly unlikely. It's worth noting, remember that chart that showed how much less people were using water per capita per day now. That is because a lot of new development is highly efficient. The yards are much smaller, so there's not a lot of landscaping water, and the fixtures in the house are all super efficient. So again, you can see this growth and how it hasn't resulted in a proportional increase in water. So what are the big takeaways here? One, we're asking residents and businesses to water less often. Landscapes are going to stay alive, but not look great. If a development has an unusual or unique circumstance, they can apply for a hardship variance. It's a very easy form to fill out. You just request one. And if it's a unique circumstance, it can be awarded. A unique circumstance might be your HOA park has 50 different irrigation zones in it, and it's impossible for them all to be watered on the watering day before 9 a.m. and after 7 p.m. There just isn't enough hours in the watering window. So in that instance, we would issue a hardship variance allowing the park to water on 2 days instead of just one, to ensure that they could get through all the zones. Third, we're going to seek compliance cooperatively. We are going to send letters and let people know when they are wasting water or violating our rules. But our real aim is in getting compliance. We're not interested in fining people and collecting money or anything. We will if we have to, but we'd much rather get compliance from people. Lastly, just to reiterate that limits on growth are only called for when reductions in use exceed 40%. And even then would be subject to an HCD review, which will not likely be given. So we are going to inform customers using a wide variety of methods about the level 2 situation. We have a simple mailer that's going to go out. It'll hit the mail on Monday, focusing on the irrigation rules in particular. We're going to educate people during initial enforcement actions with a light touch. We're going to be soliciting educational partners, HOAs, stores, others to assist us in notifying the Morgan Hill populace. And we're going to use our Water Smart system to engage the public. And it's a great time to thank Director Varela and Valley Water for helping fund the Water Smart system that we use here in Morgan Hill. I want to just note that if you look at the bullet points here, the city itself is going to be complying with the rules. We're going to be doing everything we reasonably can to reduce our own use of water. And most notably, we will be irrigating in compliance with the city's rules. And with that, I'm going to stop my share. And Justin, you can go ahead and start your share and take over. And while he's doing that, I'll just let you know, Justin's worked for Valley Water for a number of years now and was recently promoted to Senior Water Conservation Specialist. And we're just delighted to have him in his new role and delighted that he's joined us here tonight.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, Tony, and you'll be hard to follow. Can everyone see my screen?
We cannot.
All right, I'm going to troubleshoot real quick. One moment, please.
And while Justin is troubleshooting for our community that's joining us tonight, once Justin is done with his presentation, you will be able to raise your hand and ask questions. For the folks calling in, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. And we also have the Q&A box if you would rather type your question, and we'll kind of alternate going back and forth between the raised hands and the typed Q&A. And I can see it coming up, Justin.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Justin Burke, Senior Water Conservation Specialist with Valley Water. And I'm really excited to speak with all of you tonight about Valley Water's conservation programs and how they can help you through the drought. But first, it's important to think about, why is conservation important? Yeah, we're in a drought right now, and so it's even more important, but there's a long-term importance to water conservation that I really hope we can all take from tonight's talk. Not only does it increase our short and long-term water supply reliability, it also helps keep more water in our local streams and in our aquifer, as you learned just a few moments ago, but it can also help you on your water bill. So for example, the average family, if they just upgraded their toilets to an efficient 1.3 gallon per flush toilet, they could save $130 in water costs per year and over 13,000 gallons of water for the community's water supply. Furthermore, as you saw in Tony's slides about that peak demand in the summertime being from irrigation use, a single broken sprinkler can waste 25,000 gallons and costing about $90 over a 6-month period. And many of us have a lot more than just one broken sprinkler if we're not on it. And Valley Water can help you make those fixes. So this is just a quick snapshot of all the programs that Valley Water offers. We offer a program for every person, family, business, and school in Morgan Hill. And we're very grateful to have a partner like the city of Morgan Hill so that we can offer higher rebate amounts, as you'll learn about, and also so that we can support one another as we work with the community in using less water for the same benefit for all of us. And there's not a better time than now to participate in our rebate programs. Our landscape rebate program, many of you may already be familiar with this. For rebates to convert your lawns or pools to water-wise plantings, but there's a lot more you can get from a single application. Not only can you convert or downsize lawns, you can also upgrade irrigation equipment. Many of us may think about when a new piece of electronic comes out, we go out and upgrade that new piece of electronic, but how often do we do that with our irrigation systems? Many of us may have the same irrigation setup as when the home was built decades ago. And Valley Water's rebate programs really help in that regard, not only in regards to high efficiency sprinklers, but also rainwater capture rebates like rain barrels and cisterns and rain gardens. And we'll also help you convert sprinklers to inline drip. Maybe you have trees and planter areas that are irrigated with sprinklers. We'll help you out by converting that to drip irrigation to be even more efficient in how you apply water to your landscaping. An important detail though, for all of our programs I'm going to talk about today, it's essential to apply first and wait for approval before you do the work. We can't do any retroactive rebates, so we really encourage you to apply now and wait for approval. And as I move through my slides, watersavings.org is the website where you can learn more about all of our programs. Oh, I forgot to mention something on our landscape rebate program. You may have heard in the news, we increased our base rebate to $2 per square foot. Through partnership with Morgan Hill, we actually have an even higher rebate amount for turf conversion. So check out our website to apply. For gray water rebates, we offer a base rebate of $200 for connecting your clothes washer to your landscaping. With the help of Morgan Hill, we actually offer $400 for this type of system. It's a fantastic way to reuse water, get a second use of water instead of using drinking water, because I like to remind people most plants don't need drinking water to thrive. And I know it's hard to make out in this slide, but you might be able to pick out a valve that's behind the clothes washer. So it's a simple handle that gives you flexibility to send water to your landscape or to the sewer. So if you still want to use some of your regular bleach, you can still run a bleach load, you just turn that handle to the sewer. It just gives you that flexibility to reuse water in your landscape whenever you choose to. We also offer survey programs. We have an indoor DIY kit where we'll help you look for leaks that may be in your toilets. We offer toilet dye tablets through these DIY kits. The kits also include a detailed plumbing guide and a detailed instruction manual to help you become a water efficiency nerd like me and learn how to check how efficient your shower heads are. Valley Water also offers an online shopping cart where you can place orders for free with free shipping to get high efficiency shower heads or high efficiency faucet aerators that are really easy to install and can save you gallons at a time just through a simple action. We also offer outdoor surveys. I really recommend this program, especially if you may not know where to start next with your outdoor water use. We'll send a trained irrigation professional to your home, and they'll help you evaluate how efficient it is. They'll identify leaks or upgrade opportunities or repair needs, and we'll share information about our rebate programs that may be directly relevant to you and help you prioritize where you want to go first. For businesses and schools, we offer a variety of programs. We have a water efficient technology program, which is a custom rebate program where if you have water using equipment that's really old, we'll actually pay you to upgrade that equipment. And the rebate is flexible in that it's based on either the amount of water saved or the cost of the equipment, whichever is less. And we'll offer up to $100,000 for upgrading qualified water efficient equipment. Typical project examples are like cooling towers, but it can be really flexible. We also have a brand new fixture replacement program, which is targeted more towards multifamily homes, again, multifamily, and also schools and businesses where we'll, for free, send a vendor to the property to upgrade inefficient toilets, shower heads, and aerators, and put top of the line, highly efficient equipment in its place. Sub-meter rebates, we offer $150 per sub-meter to help multifamily properties individually bill units for how much water they're actually using. And when a property installs sub-meters, they will save on average 10 to 30% on the amount of water they use just through installing sub-meters, and we'll help you with that. Our large landscape program, we again will offer survey assistant with you, and we also partner with Morgan Hill where we have a large number of properties that actually receive site-specific water budgets so that they can know and track how much water they're using against how much water they should be using based on the conditions and size of their landscaping. And again, check out watersavings.org to learn how to sign up for a survey or how to check whether your multifamily or business or school can receives that free site-specific budget. And almost last, we have agricultural programs. We offer a mobile irrigation lab to farms throughout the county where we'll help them with seasonal irrigation and soil and crop canopy moisture monitoring, irrigation system design consultation, irrigation scheduling decision support so that they can make the best, most cost-effective decisions while saving water every step of the way. We also have an educational water waste inspector program. So this is a fantastic way to help take action when you see runoff in your property. You can contact us and we'll connect that property with not only the complaint, but specific programs that can help resolve the issue. Like I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, a broken sprinkler is going to waste tens of thousands gallons during an irrigation season. So if you help us out by reporting that, we can connect that person with that fact, but also with rebate programs to help them make the change as cost effectively as possible. And I did briefly mention we have this online shopping cart. Lots of really free, great gear. Check out the website. It is a little long, but go ahead and go to watersavings.org and it'll be really easy to find from watersavings.org. And lastly, we offer education, workshops, and other resources. I also wanted to plug southbaygreengardens.org. This is a multi-agency website through many partnerships that really highlight and promote sustainable landscaping practices. So if you check out one of our rebate programs and you may have some questions about, well, how do I design a sustainable landscape? How do I find resources that can help me do this project that I have in my mind? Check out southbaygreengardens.org. And lastly, we have a large number of videos to coach you through some of this information that I went through tonight in some greater detail. And if you see any of our ads on social media, go ahead and share it for us. The more we share and comment and like our outreach materials, the more of the word is going to spread about how essential water conservation is, not only to help us weather this current drought, but make those investments that will really protect all of us in the years ahead, regardless of what the next winter is going to be. Again, my name is Justin Burks, and really excited to speak with all of you tonight. Check out watersavings.org, and I really hope to see your applications come to my team today.
That's terrific, Justin. If you can stop your share, we'll go ahead and open it up. Let Michelle take over and start asking questions. I did want to mention that in addition to Justin and I and Director Varela tonight, we are joined by the Director of Public Services, Chris Gioni, who, if you have a question for him, he's on, as well as James Sylvain, who's our Deputy Director in charge of utilities. So if you want to, if you have an in-depth question, it'll rapidly be something I don't know. And so I'm going to phone a friend and ask James to chime in if you ask me how many water wells or tanks we have or something like that. So go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you, Tony. So we do have a few questions in the Q&A, and then I will jump over to the attendees. I do see I have a hand raised as well. And our first question is a thank you for the city and Valley Water for holding this town hall and asking, why are we allowing lawn watering at all?
Well, okay, because most people want us to water their lawn, and the situation is not quite that dire yet. So people have made substantial investments in their landscape, and we are very reluctant to suggest rules that would result in the loss of that investment. And so that action is reserved for times where we actually want a more than 40% reduction in water use. So today we're at 33%. We're not at that 40%. If we get to the 40%, it's actually more than 40. So if we get to 41%, it might be something we visit, but hopefully we will not get to that situation. It would be a very unpopular and really something we want to reserve for a last step before we run out of water.
Thank you, Tony. Our next question in the Q&A is asking how a copy of the PowerPoint presentation can be obtained, and I can take that one. We do post a copy of the PowerPoint along with the video from this town hall session on our city website. So if you just go to morganhill.ca.gov and you can click along the top under government, and you should see a link to our town halls. And then the next typed question we have is, can we still purchase treated wastewater from Gilroy to use for landscaping?
I'm not familiar with that. I'd ask Chris or James if they are. It would be hard to move that much water. For those that don't know, in Gilroy, they do treat the wastewater to a point where it's suitable for irrigation, and it's delivered to farms and parks in the Gilroy area. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I would just say I did not believe that's available for like delivery by a truck to Morgan Hill.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last typed question at this time, and that is, because of fire hazard, is the fire department working with the city to proactively respond to neighborhood concerns of dry vegetation?
Well, this year is no different for that. We're not joined by any of our fire teammates tonight, but I will tell you that every year we have a system, a program in place to encourage and require private property owners to abate the hazardous vegetation on their property. If you don't abate it, we will do it for you, and you will see the bill on your property taxes the next time you pay your property taxes. So that is a pretty active program. We focus on weeds everywhere. The trees and shrubs and brush that is maybe too close to the house or dead or some other way creates a fire prevention concern. Those are addressed primarily on the hillside areas where our high fire severity zones. But that's every year. If you do have a complaint, a concern about a particular property, you can either, I'll try, I don't have it at the tip of my tongue, there's a complaint line to respond to the county, and I'll look for it while we're answering the next question. Or if Chris wants to look for it while I'm answering this one, we can post it in the chat though, or in the answer. I guess the chat would probably be the best place, Michelle.
Tony, I have a comment if I may. In
Sure,
reference
John.
to, so following this meeting, I will be in a meeting that is sponsored by Police Chief Palsgrove, referencing fire issues in the eastern portion of Morgan Hill, where there was a fire, as you recall, a year ago. And we interacted very closely, Valley Water, with CAL FIRE in monitoring the situations at that particular time. So there will be a discussion with the police department, and I anticipate that CAL FIRE will be present at that meeting this evening as well. So we're looking at that, and also the water supply that Valley Water offers up, and also the water supply that currently is available to CAL FIRE and others to fight large fires throughout the region. So I just want you to be aware of that.
Thanks, John. And that gave me time to get the web address for where you would go to make a complaint about weeds at the county site. Even in the city, we contract with the county to enforce our weed abatement rules in the city, and they have a program to do that. So.
Thank you both. And so with that, we'll move over to our attendees. We have a caller ending in 8150. You should be able to unmute in just a moment and ask your question.
Thank you and good evening. Nice to see so many water professionals in one place at one time. This is Doug Muirhead, Morgan Hill resident.
There's a familiar voice.
Thank you, sir. You're looking well yourself. I'm going to ask you to begin to start thinking about something that follows conservation. Conservation only works when we have water. Having no water could be considered to be 100% conservation, but that would not support life. We all know, thanks to Mr. Yulo again tonight, that our water supply, as well as that for other South County residents, comes from our groundwater basin. And refilling that basin relies in large part on imported water. Water available for import during a drought is a small fraction of what we need. Years of drought will lower the water level in the basin. The city's deep wells will still be giving us some water, while shallower wells of our neighbors will be dry. Now we need to do the hard part and have recycled water under local control for recharge. Priority for city leadership is to convince residents that having no water is more expensive than providing a reliable and resilient supply from recycled water, even though some will label that expensive water. Building a recycling plant costs money, which city staff says can only be paid for through increased water rates. Recycled water is a reliable and resilient supply. We need to take charge of refilling our basin for the benefit of this community and for our southern neighbors. Thank you for your time.
So Tony,
Thanks,
would you like me to comment on that or just?
Go ahead, John, and I'll have a comment
Okay,
after you.
so thank you. And for the question as well, I will keep the name anonymous since he did not identify himself. Valley Water's Recycled Water Committee is partnering now with the cities of Palo Alto, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale specifically to add more recycling and purified water in that area. We're going to be concentrating our efforts in South County and working with the city of Morgan Hill and Gilroy to bring that into the South County. From the Valley Water's perspective, recycled water, purification of water is the sustainable water supply of the future. So to that end, we will be having our meetings regularly as we have one scheduled, I believe, coming up soon with both the city of Morgan Hill and Gilroy with the Valley Water Board to have those discussions ongoing. And those are public meetings that people may attend and also encourage people to attend those meetings. So just wanted to make that comment.
Thanks, John.
And to our community members, those were all the questions that have been typed or hands raised so far. If you have any questions about water conservation in Morgan Hill, or other just general city questions, feel free to raise your hand or type in the Q&A. Otherwise, we'll give it a few more minutes, but if you don't have any questions, we will give you back a few extra minutes of your evening. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this important conversation.
Michelle, I went ahead and typed the Valley Water website's address in the chat for people to see. And if you go to their page, it's very, drought and saving water is like the central thing on the homepage. So that's where you could easily go. And I know Justin had it in his presentation. I just wanted, you can easily see it in the chat and write down the address yourself. So after this town hall tonight, you can go and visit right away.
Thank you for that, Tony.
Just want to congratulate Morgan Hill for putting this program together. Are you going to be offering this through social media as well? Is that going to be out there or strictly on your website?
So this town hall is live streamed on our Facebook channel. It is also live streamed on our channel 17, and then will be posted on our website. So it's in all of those places.
Good.
And let me just add that we have a new person who'll be working with us in assisting the community and learning about this, who will be using social media and all forms of media to reach people, just not with the information tonight, but also things I didn't even get around to addressing about saving water. So.
And we do have another hand up, Council Member Mayor Pro Tem John McKay.
Hello, thank you. I wasn't expecting to get on, but certainly it's one of the most important topics of the day, and it could be one of the most important topics of our lifetime, actually, if we intend to live in this wonderful place, which could soon become much more arid than we've known in the past. I have had some recent conversations with Director Varela, and through discussing these things, I realized that we need to have a real ongoing understanding of what the possibilities are, as far as we have water storage in our reservoirs and underground aquifers, and then we have, will always be dependent upon climate, the weather, whether we get rain or not, and that creates a dependency on something that which we have absolutely no control over. Now we talk about desalinization. The numbers are off the charts right now, so maybe we kind of put that aside, but realize that is possible someday. But the recycling issue keeps on coming back. So I tried to ask this the other night, but I don't think we had quite enough time. I would like to know more. If there is more information, Mr. Varela, could you kind of give us an idea of how long it could take for us to get recycled water here to Morgan Hill? How does it get here? What would be some of the complications? And then kind of give us your opinion on what the true benefits are of going to recycling versus increased storage capacity versus desalinization. Is that a fair question at this time?
Sure. I mean, I'll be able to give you all the information at this point. It's a very complicated question, but as you summarized your comment, you were saying that above ground storage, our aquifers, which is predominantly the water source that we have for South County in our region, and desalination, we're looking at all of it. And we have had discussions. I've been on the board now for 6 years, since I've been on the board, talking about desalination, and it's very expensive. It's one of the most expensive water recycling systems. The latest and most current was in Southern California, in San Diego area, that was built about 3 years ago now. And they discovered that they had some extreme issues with byproduct, a brine that is deposited, and the only way they could find a way to get rid of it, if you will, was to put it back into the ocean, which is not a good solution. And also the cost to reproduce that water. Now that was done with a contractor. It's a 30-year contract. The contractor pretty much owns the system for that 30-year period, and the city pays for the water. And that water is extremely expensive, somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 an acre foot, which comparison, the water that we're currently importing from the Delta and other areas is somewhere between $500 to $600 an acre foot, and in some cases even more than that. So storage, in our opinion, is extremely important. As far as recycling, we found that to be the most cost-effective of all the potential sustainable water supplies in the future. Our water recycling program that we inaugurated several years ago in San Jose is proving that that is the methodology that we're choosing to move forward with. As a cost comparative, I need to get an update on our numbers. Recycled water currently is somewhere between $3,000 to $4,000 an acre foot. It's still a lot of money compared to the $575 to $600 an acre foot for raw water that we're bringing in. But the other big issue about that is the waste that we use to recycle, the effluent that we actually use. South County is a challenge because we have two communities, the population between Morgan Hill and Gilroy. We would have to depend on both cities to create the effluent to recycle. Or a third solution, which we are working on now, is we are expanding our current facility in San Jose. We're at approximately 7 million acre feet that we're producing on a daily basis. That has that capacity to 40 million. So we are working closely with the city of San Jose, which we co-own the property, to build out that system and also build a pipeline that could effectively come all the way south into Morgan Hill as well. These are discussions that we're having. These are discussions that we're going to continue to have with South County, with the city of Morgan Hill, et cetera. Because again, I repeat, I'm being redundant, but this is the water, sustainable water that we have in the future. It's not cheap, but it's something that we all have to look at and how we're going to pay for it. And here's another interesting thing. The current administration that we have in Washington is pro-water. And where the previous was taking money away from water development and infrastructure costs. Our new president, Biden, is bringing water infrastructure dollars to California. So it's going to be a money grab. Everybody in the state of California is looking to build or find a way to sustain their water supply. But we know what we're doing. We have proof. We've done it. So we think we're first in line to get many of those dollars. So, you asked me a question, I went off on it, but that's the information that I have. But you're going to learn more of that as we have our joint meetings in the near future, pro tem mayor. Did I answer your question?
Oh,
And then some.
And then some, yes. I'm not seeing any more hands come up. If there's anybody that has any other questions, we'd be happy to address them. Otherwise, I would just like to say thank you so much, John Varela and Justin Burks, for joining us. Tony, as usual, thank you for all of the wonderful information. And our community, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us for this important conversation. And we will keep bringing you topics of interest. And if you have questions or want additional information about anything, you can always email us. You can email me directly at pio@morganhill.ca.gov. I'll put that in the chat. And thank you again.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Thanks.
being here
Good
with
night.
you all.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.